Mandala is another medium which is also used in art therapy. So what happens in mandala is that you create a circle, and in that circle you create certain patterns and symbols. For some people, mandala can bring about a lot of calming effect. For some, it can be very relaxing. For another, it can be a very mindful exercise. All of these are some of our therapeutic effects and benefits of doing mandala. For mandala art exercise, what you require is an A4 sheet of paper. The art materials that you would require are fine-tipped color pencils. You could also sometimes use the fine-tip brushes with the paint as well. You can even use, let's say, a sketch pen, or simply if you don't have all the colors and you have, let's say, a pen or a pencil lying around at home, you can just use this to make the patterns. So now what is mandala? Mandala is where you are going to make, let's say, a circle shaped art, and within that circle shaped art you're going to create patterns and you can create symbols around that and inside the circle. When you're making mandalas from a scratch, right, you also want to keep certain things in mind. For instance, you take a center point. If you have a scale with you, you take a scale and you make a line here, you make another line here, you make another line and divide it into multiple triangles, and within each of that triangle you can add different patterns. You can go with even more smaller ones, spirals. You can go with even more rounds. You can try with different angles. You could also, let's say, make a flower. What you're essentially doing is that you are filling up these spaces with different patterns and different symbols. What we have here is a much more structured one, where you have divided the circle into multiple triangle shapes. What you can also do sometimes with mandala, let's say you want something much more freer, you want the space to play around, you may not need to then divide the space into multiple quarters. What you can simply do is, let's say, make concentric circles around this, and around these concentric circles make much bigger patterns. You add more color to it. You can add more colors. create more patterns. Maybe some more spirals. Maybe spirals that come here outside. You could invert the patterns. So this is one of the mandala patterns that you can create by your own self. You can make by your own self. As you can see, the circle is not a perfect circle, but that's completely fine. What matters is that you are engaged in the whole process. What happens when you are doing mandala is that there is a lot of engagement and being in the present that's the therapeutic process that goes inside it. When you are engaged in creating those patterns, you are there in the moment with creating those patterns. It's a very meditative experience. Some people find it very relaxing. Some people find it very meditative as you are creating those patterns. You can also sometimes get mandalas, something like this, which is already printed out, but you don't have to, let's say, create it from the scratch. All you have to do is, let's say, color it. If you're somebody who would like your mandala much more cleaner, then this would be one way to go with it. You take different colors and you keep playing with which colors. At times you can also slow down with the coloring process. What also happens when you're doing mandala is that your focus is outward. So you're not really focusing on, let's say, internal thoughts. You are more engaged on the outside. Your focus shifts external, and it can be a form of positive distraction. But it has also been shown that, let's say, if you are just simply coloring a mandala, prints and patterns for even 20 minutes, it brings about a relaxation and a reduction in anxiety. And you never have to feel that you need to complete the entire mandala coloring in just one go. You can take multiple breaks. Let's say you are at work and you need to take a break. You could maybe take a mandala break, let's say in between 5 minutes. You can paint some sections of it and keep coming back to it. So you don't have to keep doing it in one go. Certain mandala patterns that are already available, some of them are much more, let's say, simpler, more spaced out, that would have lesser detail, so lesser sort of detailed work that goes into it. But if you're someone who also likes more detailed patterns that are coming in, that takes a lot more time, and you enjoy that patterns, you can work with them as well. That allows for more structure and lesser of the playfulness. Within a circle, you can create more things. There can be more symbolic variations as well. Like, for example, you could make a gratitude mandala, you could make a flower mandala, you could make a memory mandala. So these are different ways by which you can also play around with the mandala in a way that it best suits your mood and emotional state. So what we have here is a mandala in which we have colored. So this was already a printed sheet in which we had just colored played around with some of the colors and created this artwork. And on the other sheet is a plain paper in which you can also create your own. Make sure that when you're doing a mandala, you don't have to do all of it together. You can take certain breaks in between the entire completion process.